Hey everyone, welcome to Kita's Corner, where we talk all things real estate. So today's episode is one of my favorites because today we are talking real estate horror stories. Cue dramatic music. Dun, dun. Yes, you heard me right. Real estate horror stories. So no, we're not talking ghosts, goblins, and ghouls. Well, at least not on this episode. We're talking mishaps that happened in real estate transaction on the buyer or seller side that we want to learn from so we can make sure we don't make those mistakes. So I'm going to go through a few quick stories that I found online, and I'm going to give you a few tips and tricks at the end of this video so we can make sure that we avoid those situations and we have an easy, smooth transaction. So let me clarify, you can't ever 100% guarantee that you're going to have an easy, smooth transaction, but you can put all your ducks in a row, make sure that you got everything situated to avoid a lot of these issues that can occur from occurring. So let's go ahead and get into the first story that I'm going to read you guys, and I'm going to have it posted up here so you can make sure you follow along. I will have a few things blurred out because, I got to protect the people's privacy. So let's get into story number 1. I found a house that I really liked, but I assumed it was out of my price range. But when the seller gave me the number, I said, okay, I'll take it. Then he actually asked me if his price was too low. I said, that's the price you asked for, and that's what I'm willing to pay. Over the next week or so, while I would arrange financing, I could tell that he was seething over the fact that he thought he had sold it too cheap. On the morning of closing, rewind. On the morning of closing, he called to tell me he couldn't sell. He claimed his doctor didn't want him going through the stress of buying another house or some such BS. I was extremely upset as I already had given notice on my previous condo and made arrangements with the moving company and all the other stuff related to a move. But his closing comments to me was, think about it and call me. So I knew the jerk was trying to jack me up for more money. 2 days later, he called me and wanted to know why I hadn't called him. I asked why would I call him as he had already told me the deal was off. Then the little weasel backpedaled when he realized I wasn't going to offer more money and said he would sell. So I'm going to let y'all ponder over that. I'm going to let y'all think about what y'all would have done with that scenario while we jump into story number 2. To story number 2. The house next door to my best friend in high school went up for sale, and it sold rather quickly and then fell through. The buyer came to the house to finish signing some paperwork, small town kind of stuff, and flipped out. We were on the back deck, so we had the perfect vantage to listen. Where's the child's playhouse? The woman practically screamed. They had a mini replica of the White House as a child's playhouse. Where's the swing set? Where's the trampoline? Where's the doghouse? Where's the patio furniture? Where's the grill? Open house had been the weekend before and the family hadn't finished moving yet. The majority of their belongings were in the garage at the time and they were staying with other neighbors as they finished moving. The selling agent explained that none of that stuff was on the documentation. The woman was livid. She was under the impression that if something was in-house or on a property during the open house, that it was automatically included in the sale of the home. Well, she backed out of the sale immediately, saying she was going to sue for false advertising. So she said she's going to have her people call your people because y'all had her messed up. So go ahead and think about what you would have done in that scenario while we jump to the last story, number 3, that we're going to cover this evening before we start to, dissect these little tidbits. Okay, so this is going to be our last one for this episode. So I'm in the process of selling my mother's house as a part of the estate. A common thing to do is to get an engineer's report or a builder's report, also known as an inspection report. The report came back that sometime in the next decade, the roof will need attention and that the guttering around the house may overflow in extreme watershed. The prospective buyer attempted to lowball me by $20K. In a crazy white hot housing sales market, in a situation where there are backup buyers on top of backup buyers. We literally have a queue of contracted buyers, each offering more than the one ahead of them in the queue. Needless to say, we gave them the choice of paying what they originally offered or cancel the contract. They canceled. It had transpired that the bank would only lend them the low ball amount in the first place. So you know what it sounds like to me? Sounds like they were wasting your time, ma'am. Okay, that's what it sounds like to me. So now that we're done with all three stories, let's go ahead and get into them, and let's talk about how we can prevent this from happening to you. So let's talk about these crazy experiences. Just imagine you're about to close on a house and someone calls you the seller calls you the morning of talking about he ain't trying to sell. Like, sir, what? Like, that's not an option here. So how we could have easily avoided that is make sure you have the right documentation in play, okay? There is a contract for that. In Texas, we have the 1-to-4 contract, and in paragraph number 15, it says if you default, we can pursue legal ramifications. Like, sir, if your doctor thought you was going to be stressing about moving, you're really about to be stressing now. So make sure you use your realtor. Make sure you have access to someone who has access to these things, okay? And on the flip side, the seller, he could have avoided that if he would have had a realtor as well. We would have ran a comprehensive market analysis, and we would have made sure he was getting top dollar for his property, because it is a crazy hot market. So he would have got top dollar for his property. He may have had a few little more fees in there, but he still would have been putting more in his pocket at the end of the day. So easy fix, easy fix. Use a realtor. Make sure you have the right contracts in supply. None of those issues would have occurred. So let's talk about number 2. This could have been easily avoided if, again, you're going to see there's a common denominator here, you guys. If the buyer would have, say it with me, used a realtor, okay? If she would have used a realtor, then her realtor could have, first of all, flat out let her know that if it is a non-realty item, it is not automatically included in the sale. But her realtor also could have negotiated those items into the sale, because there's a contract for that. There's an addendum for that. There's always some sort of form, because, you know, all these scenarios have happened before in history of time. So we got a solution. So if she would have had someone representing her, then she could have, the realtor, whoever represented her, could have, again, negotiated those items that she wanted into the sale, because you never know. The seller may have not even really wanted that stuff. They probably would have been happy to leave it because it would have been less stuff for them to haul off. But since they already moved it, they didn't know that the buyer wanted it. It's like, we're not about to double work and bring it back, especially when you come in here all crazy and stuff. So again, use a realtor. We have access to these contracts. We are knowledgeable. We have experience with these issues. Let us help you help yourself, okay? So let's go ahead and get into number 3. How we could have prevented this from happening is you got to make sure that you do your background, or you got to vet your buyers, okay? Here in Houston, in our market, we're not even accepting offers without a letter from your lender saying you can afford this amount, okay? So that's straight off, okay? That would have shut all this down, because once we would have seen that pre-approval letter that's saying that they can only afford $20K less, if this home is $420 and their pre-approval says $400, then they're out the running. And even if their pre-approval did say $420, me as a seller's agent, I'm calling the lender. Hey, is their stuff really good? How long have they been on their job? You know, is it, what's going on? Are they, give me a little background. Are they a solid buyer? And then you also want to make sure if it's a Monday and you're calling the lender and they don't respond to you till Wednesday, that lender might drag their feet through the transaction. So you got to make sure that you vet your buyer. So those would have been red flags for me off the top. You don't have a pre-approval. Next. Okay, your lender said you're only approved for 20K less. Next. And that would have avoided this whole entire situation. So it's really, 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 really easy solutions to these scenarios. So the moral of these stories are basically, get you a realtor, okay? Work smarter, not harder. This is a multi-$1,000 to multi-million-dollar transaction. Don't play with your money, okay? Use the resources that you have available to you. Realtors, we have access to all of these important documents. We are knowledgeable. Use us. We here. Make sure you hit that like button, subscribe. If you have any crazy real estate stories or any horror real estate stories, here is my email. Feel free to send them over to me. I would love to talk about them and love to learn from your experience. If you're currently in Houston or the surrounding area and you need help selling, buying, leasing, investing, email me, comment. I would love to assist you. And make sure you guys watch my next video. I will be giving tips on new construction. If you're thinking about buying a new construction home, I will be giving tips, and that should air sometime next week. Talk to you guys soon. Until next time.